We are live. Thank you to everybody that's tapped in. Today is Sunday, November 13th, and you are listening to the He Nuh Show on WINN Media 98.9. We're live streaming on YouTube as per usual, on Facebook, and on the socials. So tap into us on the Instagram. Today, we have in studios with us Zoo. Sinatra.
Yeah, you don't know. We're gonna give thanks.
Legendary.
Yeah, Zoo. For those who have been living in a foreign land somewhere and not tapped into the local scene, is artist. He's a musician, practicing musician. I know him to be an entertainer, events promoter. He does a lot of things. He wears a lot of hats, and he's just been telling me that he's been tapped into spirituality to some extent as he gets older. So we wanted to have some conversations relating to love and honor and find out what that means from the masculine perspective, because we exist in a space where persons don't necessarily uphold the values of honor, especially as men. We say one thing and then we practice another. So we're going to dive into that conversation and find out, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does love mean between men? What is it to be an honorable man in this time? So, and what do those demonstrations look like?
I mean, especially too, because when I greeted Zoo when I came back, it's always love and honor. So it kind of struck me like, yo, oh no, catch me off guard.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I like to hear what that means for you from your perspective, and what is it that's like your hallmark, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, blessed afternoon to all the listeners. You know what I mean? Once again, my name is Joe. Love and honor for me is just manners and respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, honor goes different ways. The way I honor you might not be the way I honor someone else. You know what I'm saying? My honor for you might be based off of the respect you show me. My honor for somebody else might be a burden they carry for me. You know what I'm saying? So ain't everybody I greet, I would say love and honor. Because ain't everybody deserve an honor. Because everybody on some other type of time. So, but for me, for most people that I mess with, is love and honor based on the relations. You know what I mean? And for me, I try with love every day. That's what I try with. I don't do hate. You know what I'm saying? I feel like love is a thing that people don't necessarily talk about much or carry with them. Everybody kind of on defense mode when they touch wood. When they leave the household, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I got to protect myself out here. I done protected by the most size. I mean, I worry about that. I just try with love to make sure I spread that energy still. Yeah.
You see, so when I hear that, and I mean, I could resonate with the concept of moving with love.
Yeah.
But we exist in a space that is sometimes competitive.
Yeah.
And people will determine or deem you an enemy or competition just off rip, just because you're moving in a type of way that highlights their deficiencies, right? And they start talking crazy about you. They might be actively trying to destroy wherever it is you're building. How do we navigate around those things, or how do you navigate around those types of movements? Because those things happen.
Yeah. Well, for me, as I said earlier, I was trying to tap in a more spiritual realm. So for me, like, a human still. So I still go through that phase where if something happened, or if I realize somebody against me or fighting me in a way, they will still make me feel a little way. But I just try not to, like, live there. You know what I mean? I try to, like, recognize that, I understand. You know what I mean? You ain't tapped in how I tapped in. You probably want what I have, you know what I mean, which is maybe knowledge yourself, or you just want that glow that you see me when you see me. You know what I'm saying? I popping up regular as me, but somebody else might be looking at me like this powerful being. You know what I'm saying? And that could be based on, I just don't know, maybe how I carry myself. Maybe just the love that I don't just give out. You know what I'm saying? People be envious, or people be emulating you in a sense, and you don't even know it. So sometimes they ain't even hate, something they just want to be like you. But for me, I just navigate it in a sense of like, you can get it later on. You know what I mean? Right now, you're just in a space where you probably ain't know yourself on that level, or you're trying to be on that type of time. So for me, I just kind of watch it off. I recognize it, keep a mental note, but I try not to like keep them things in my mind or like keep
You
myself.
don't dwell.
Yeah, I don't dwell on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for my navigation is just recognizing it, keeping a mental note, and just moving forward.
So how do you manage, let's say, kindness? Is that something that you apply to people who you feel as though might not understand or even, to some degree, envious in a way? You still administer like kindness to them as you move your life, and you moving with love and honor?
Yeah, man. Like I always, cause you check me on nobody energy change my energy. You know what I'm saying? Like if anybody could change your energy overall, is like, you know what I mean? Like I don't think like you fully grasp like what you here to do. You know, or you fully grasp or understand yourself. No, don't get me wrong. There are people who will be a kind of way where you can't deal with them with kindness no more. But I just feel like everything is just the level of extent, or either the violation, or if you feel like you're giving out a little more than you're supposed to, then you fall back. But that doesn't change your whole perspective of who you be, like as a kind person. You know what I'm saying?
So how you ever misread hate and realize that it was love?
Yeah.
You misread love for hate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You realize, like in retrospect, no, that person was actually showing me some love, and
Yeah.
it wasn't really hate.
Yeah. Vice versa too.
Yeah, vice versa. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That happened to me like a few times, you know, and that just come with growth too.
Yeah.
You know.
So let's say you recognize that in a person, you ever circle back on that person and say, hey, I understand where you're coming from.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like that ain't nothing for me to do. You know, them is hard things for a lot of people to do.
Yeah.
To double back and say, yo, like Alonzo, I see what you did, boy, and you know what I mean, give thanks for that. I was my bad on my part of how I reacted. I didn't see it, but I see it now. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't nothing hard for me to do, because I understand this is all a part of life.
You know, for me, it's good. It's easy to do if I'm in the wrong, and maybe that's something that needs correcting. You know, sometimes you have like a raw engagement with an individual, and it's because of wherever it is, wherever the vibe is at that moment, the interaction isn't ideal. It isn't what you want it to be.
Yeah.
And you kind of part ways, you know. So there's some separation, there's a distance, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
And if I identify that, listen, there might have been something that I misread. I was a little bit hasty in my judgment. I didn't really put the situation as deeply as I should.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, I know how to go back. The problem I have is if somebody does it, and I guess it depends on the extent of the violation.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a violation, and I deem the violation to be deep, because deep is subjective. Everybody, you know what I mean, gonna read deep how they want to read deep. But if I deem that the violation is deep, it's hard for me to accept that person as. I would accept the apology to an extent, but it doesn't repair anything.
No, definitely, and I totally agree. Like, not because you say sorry to me, that doesn't mean like we're friends again, or like we're cool again, you know. But I still acknowledge it. Like that person probably, really thought about that. You know, I still take the mental note that that person really did thought about that, and they just come out to say my bad or whatever. But that still doesn't change that. You know what I mean? We ain't cool.
The thing you said too, that sometimes people leave and they come out of the house and they're on defense mode.
Yeah.
Right? And to be honest with you, in retrospect, like growing up in seeing kids and abroad and stuff like that, I start looking, especially in our society down here, there are a lot of times that we really sometimes as interpret, sometimes love as hate sometimes. And that's the interpretation of the bat sometimes, And
yeah.
I think one thing that changed my mind, changed my perspective, was that book that I read, 4 Agreements. You ever heard of it?
Yeah, I read it before.
Yeah, that book kind of helped me like look within and realize why, sometimes it's not always what you think it is.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy concept, though. Here's the crazy thing. I think to some extent that ties in with masculinity, that leaving the house on defense mode. Because if you are a nice person and actively demonstrate that you are a nice person, oftentimes people deem you to be soft.
Yeah.
And you almost attract violations in a sense. People come at you kind of left field because they feel like it's something that they could get away with.
You think
and to some extent, it's almost like you have to, or people feel like they have to be on defense, because if I'm not defensive, you get, there's some contempt that comes with familiarity and comfort. And then people's settings, they talk crazy to you, or they move in a certain type of way that you just can't countenance.
But you see, like you said like a nice person, right? But sometimes I think in our society it's almost like we put nice and gullible together, right? And it's two different things. Like if somebody see you gullible, they're gonna take advantage of that fully. But niceness is a kind of thing that you even sometimes hold it back, like the honor part, that you kind of hold it back.
Yeah.
Because the same way I honor you, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's not the same way I honor somebody else. And that could be like, I could be nice to you, but I might not be exactly like give that other person that same energy.
Facts.
But if you're gullible, sometimes that look like a weakness. Is almost like you could use somebody who's gullible, you could manipulate them with words and stuff like that. And if somebody see that they could do that, then that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I understand exactly where you're coming from, because at the same time, as you say, you don't want nobody taking advantage, and you want to set a precedence. You want to make sure when you touch the road, that your presence known for not being played with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I get that completely. I feel like you could show that in different ways, other than being defensive. I feel like you could show that in different ways. Conversations by just basically saying no to certain things, or to just saying, hey, like, you can't deal with me like that. You know what I mean? So you ain't necessarily on defense mode, but now somebody says something to you that now puts you in defense mode at that present moment. You know what I'm saying? And you be like, yo, like, what you think this is? Like, you can't be dealing with me like that. You know what I mean? And then you're gone again.
You know what's crazy though? I've recently arrived at a place where I see the value in reconciling certain things. Like before, right? A violation would be all ties severed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got friction for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's smoke all the way.
Facts.
And I've gotten to the point now where I've realized, like, yo, some violations, you gotta look past them and allow that relationship to heal. Because sometimes when it heals, it comes back stronger, right? And I never had that. And nobody ever taught me that. So I couldn't see that early stages.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? If you grow up in a street environment, right? Like, let's say you grew up in any hood, especially if you grew up in the 80s, you kind of had to be physical. You kind of had to have a certain demeanor, certain kind of mannerism, so that people know, because that was an era where I feel like people just used to get tests all the time. It's a lot more liberal, a lot more welcoming now. But when I was growing up as a youth, you had to be different. You had to be ready. Yeah.
In early MI times too, like high school, and so you had to be militant.
Right. So, I mean, to the extent that when we were going high school, when I was going junior high, they used to call it Vietnam because it was so crazy. Like, you had to be ready to, you know what I mean? So I had a type of temperature where if you do anything that I deem a violation,
that's it.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
And as I get older and I understand relationships, first and foremost, and how those relationships tie into your network, or how just, you know, being cool and having a vibe with certain persons allows you to navigate a little bit more easily in certain situations. It requires you to kind of let certain things slide. I didn't know how to do that, and nobody ever taught me that.
I mean, back in them days too, the slang was, you don't let nobody punk you.
No.
Facts.
Nobody gonna punk me.
Real talk.
They're gonna equal to drama, you know what I mean?
Definitely. You know, and as you said, that's all a part of like that time where you just had to be physical. Like, you had to be on defense. You know what I mean? But
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, it's cool.
But you see, when we say anything with the niceness, like, you know, you had a brethren back then, like you're growing up with. And that was your brethren, and let's say, you know, he go buy a brace, he might buy you one.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
Yeah.
Right? And that built a relationship.
Yeah.
But he wasn't gullible.
Facts.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you had a youth gullible now, say like sometimes they had like kids that they ain't from the hood, that would come to the hood and then they start like buying like shoes and all these different, like supplying like people with stuff. And people will use them to the maximum.
Yeah, definitely.
But
that's a gullible part.
But no, what I'm saying is though, right? Being a nice person also had a barrier to entry attached to it, because it's who you're nice to. Right? So what I'm saying is, when you come out on defense mode, you could be a nice person and not be gullible, but most people wouldn't get the opportunity to know that you're a nice person.
You kind of put a veil in front of that.
Right. You're always kind of moving on a solo energy.
Yeah.
And okay, Zo is my brethren, me and Zo got a connection. So if Zo like, yo, P, I want money in the supermarket, but I forget my wallet. Yeah, man, I give you $20.
Yeah.
But another dude, yo, big man, give me $20. Yo, who you talking to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nah, real talk.
So,
If like you want to get tax.
right. And we don't pay tax.
No.
So it's a different, so it's a different type of situation.
I feel you highly on that.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you separate the two? Because for me, the way I see it is the only separation is the connection. Like, yo, what my connection is to you or your approach. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to have a connection with you, but I don't see youths. Like youths don't come up to me like, yo, bro, I trying to get a bread from the supermarket and I had my money, but it looked like I lost it. You could bless me? Oh yeah, man, sure. Half rip, that's nothing. Because of the approach.
Yeah.
You approach me with a certain degree of reverence. I'm not saying that you're reverent to me, but you're reverent to the request.
But that's the love. That's the love.
Yeah.
That's the love and honor.
Yeah, so I could kind of match that energy now. You come at me in a certain type of way. So it's all about how you communicate this request.
Yeah.
You can't come say, yo, big man, give me $20. No, that's a problem.
Definitely.
But it's, boss, you got $20 you could spare because I got this situation. Yo, too easy.
Yeah,
right?
when that man come to you on that kind of level, like, yo, give me $20. You know, he looking at you like yourself.
Yeah.
Like, looking at me like,
At least that's your interpretation.
That's
because
interpretation, yeah.
a lot of it could come down to conversation too, like how
Facts.
people communicate.
True.
I see that a lot in relationships. Just people say things a certain type of way. When they talk to you, it's just like,
They really mean it.
yeah, man.
That.
Like,
Real
yo,
time.
I read that wrong here. Me like how that tastes. You gotta rephrase that.
Yeah.
You get me? You gotta say that in a different tone. You gotta change the way you approach me just now with that. You encounter a situation, so a lot of it takes a consciousness, a conscious approach as a man for you to not get in problems just for these things.
The communication barrier.
Yeah, man. Big time. And honor. So when we're talking about honor, for me, honor is upholding certain values. Like, I don't even think honor is related to a specific individual.
Yeah.
I think honor is an intrinsic thing. I think honor is something that, okay, you just move with it as a principle that you hold, that you attach to your life, and it's reflected in the people that you deal with. It's reflected in the way you deal with people.
But
right?
the crazy part about that is this. You might got honor for a man that other people don't. Because okay, let's put it this way. You might be good with a man who is a real thug, terrorize the streets. You got love and honor for that guy based on how he deal with you, based on the love that he show you. You know what I mean? So even though you're saying like how he uphold himself in society, he might not be on that type of time. People looking at him like, well, you got love and honor for him. You know what I'm saying?
But, okay, no, but here's a different argument then. A lot of people exist within a survival mode, right? So what you're talking about, I've personally experienced that, where I got some brethren who on some kind of dark time, right? Them and all the way grimy. But when they deal with me, you wouldn't believe it's the exact same person,
Exactly.
right? Just the way they communicate and they're very, they're caring.
Yeah.
They would give you the last.
Animated too.
Yeah, man. So I know several persons like that, right? And I feel like that's translated into how they move even in the street.
Yeah.
Because it got certain lines they wouldn't cross. Like the dudes that I know. It got certain lines they wouldn't cross. It got certain things they wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Right? Certain conversations they wouldn't have. If you are the brethren, they wouldn't talk about you with somebody else.
True.
That's honor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the honor is reflected within their existence. It's just that their existence doesn't necessarily subscribe to the societal values.
Facts.
But they got honor in how they move in
But
within their world.
And crazy about that is almost like in the, like, let's say in the streets, as we coin in it, is like a lot of honor kind of exists, because they got like consequences. But you find like in the corporate world, like a lot of honor doesn't really exist.
Even the honor in the corporate world is business.
It's
yeah.
business. Business and it's crazy. Because, and then how do you translate, like, let's say you go up in the hood environment and then you move into corporate. Like, but you kind of uncue for certain things. So it's just like how to navigate that coming from, because I think some people from the street, from the hood even, they have a difficult time like transitioning because they feel like insecure about certain you know what I mean,
Yeah.
interactions with people where they might just revert to the natural instincts and could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. The way how I see it isn't even about the insecurity. I think is different environments call for different movements, and there's a different resolution to problems, right? So in the street, if you're in the street, if you know the street culture, street politics, when you're in the street, there's one way to handle things. We handle things with physicality. You know what I mean? If somebody violates their disrespect, even if they talk crazy and you don't like it as a street man, you gotta defend that because that's your name. And your name is what carrying you in the street. Right? So you have to handle that a specific way. Set an example. The thing is when you transfer into a corporate realm or you transition into a corporate realm, right? Things that could be deemed violations are commonplace. They're normal.
Yeah.
Right? A business deal comes up, you are discussing with Zoo this business opportunity that I saw, and Zoo goes and make a bid for the same business opportunity. So steal it from under me, right? In the street, that's a big problem. In the corporate realm, you just gotta take that one as a L. Like, yo, you should have kept that one a little closer to the chest.
Yeah.
You know, he was in his right to do that almost, because it's dog eat dog almost, right? But in the street, it's a certain type of way we handle with that, and the emotion is the same. So ain't bun no different in the street or carpet, you know. The bun is the same. It's just how you respond to it carpet. In a carpet environment is like, you gotta take that L.
Yeah.
You guys feel like in our society that a lot of the parents, we used to get the saying, if somebody do you something, bust their face and come home?
No.
You never hear that? You never hear people say that?
No, I hear if they hit you, hit them back.
But
Basically the same
the
thing.
same thing,
Yeah.
but it's just like different, you know, just
Different.
it's the same thing.
Exactly.
It's
Well, no,
the same.
bust their face and come home is intense. That's like
That's
crazy.
intense,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know, suddenly you get permission to be physical.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
you know, and again, it comes back to, especially being raised as men. Parents, I think, inherently know that it is a detriment for your boy to be soft, right? He doesn't move through the world as easy as he could if he's not seen as somebody who is capable of violence, right? And I think we shared this video with Jordan Peterson. You're familiar with Jordan Peterson?
No.
Jordan Peterson is a crazy guy. You need to tap in.
Okay, I really
Social
like that.
psychologist. But what Jordan Peterson said is a weak man, somebody that's soft, is not necessarily a nice man. A nice man is somebody who is dangerous, a man who is capable of violence, he's capable of darkness, but voluntarily keeps it under control. That voluntary control is what makes him nice, what makes him a good person.
He could be either or.
Yeah, man, like a switch.
Yeah.
And there's this philosopher from way back, like in the, I want to tell you, the 1700s, named Mushoto Miyamoto, right? He was a Japanese warrior. I think he was a samurai. And he had a quote where he said, "It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war."
Facts, though.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could see it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
In the
I
garden,
feel
but I could defend myself if I need to.
Nah,
So I think that's where that came from. Like hit them back concept. I don't think it's parents necessarily promoting violence. To some extent, it could be. You know, I mean, if your parent has a certain level of ignorance. But I think as boys, parents always knew when you was raising a boy, when you're raising a son, it's just never really a good look for your son
It's
to be
a crazy
soft.
world. It's a crazy world. And I know people can test you.
You
know what
gotta
I
get
mean?
tested.
Yeah.
And even for the daughters too, they kind of raise their daughters a lot of times not to be gullible. So like you may see, let's say the daughter like laughing at the joke and then she's laughing the loudest and them type of things. You see parents sometimes, hey, you know, get kind of offended by that.
Tone that down.
So like you know, sometimes you kids like, you know, they want to go on your knee and ride pony and, you know, play. But in certain instances, like a mother would say, like, no, you can't, no. Go back inside, you know what I mean?
Certain people.
Certain people. And some people come around, they're like, come, you know what I mean? So it's almost like the boys can be soft and the women can, the females can be
and a lot of
gullible.
that, and a lot of that was just teaching boundaries.
Yeah.
It's just how it's communicated because as a youth man growing up, you have to have boundaries. Like,
Definitely.
yo, if me and you is brethren, you can't tell yourself that I got $15 and you're gonna just take up 10 when me ain't looking and it's okay.
Yeah.
No man, it has to have consequences for that.
definitely.
And the consequences for that is a boundary that I'm establishing in our relationship if the relationship is to move forward. In the moment is rough because, you know what I mean, you might pick up on something and ain't really a good vibe.
Facts.
But then on the back end of that, it's like we've established a boundary, you know, but you can't really play this game with Zoe because it's so kind of different, right? And it's the same thing with siblings. When you grow up, it's those fights allow you to see who your brother, your cousin, or your sister is.
Yeah, man.
When y'all have those physical interactions,
man.
like,
You
okay,
got,
why
you,
this
you got
sister?
siblings?
No, yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Older
All
brothers?
brothers.
All brothers?
Younger.
Younger, you're the oldest?
Yep.
So you had to coach all of them. and you're still coaching to this day.
In a sense, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, I've seen, like, TJ. I feel like TJ is somebody that I don't really have to talk to like that. Like, you know what I mean? I seen him figuring it out on his own, you know, and is blessed to see that. You know what I'm saying?
He's right after you?
No, way after me.
Way after, okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's 50 now, and you know, just the way he carry himself and just the way he deal with situations, just see his intellect. You could see that he could handle himself, and he ain't got to handle himself in a physical way. Because to be honest with you, these days in school ain't the same like when we were going to school.
No.
So
It's less.
it's way less. Well, I can't talk about like high school and Washi and so, but like he in convent. They don't call it convent no more.
Yeah, ICCS.
Yeah, but he ain't got that physicality to deal with. You know what I mean?
And I mean, generally the environment's super liberal. Like, we are a lot more accepting. So there's a lot less judgment in this space. Like, it's cool for a set of youths to just be in the game, like commit themselves to just playing PlayStation all day and be out in the streets and nobody really messing with them.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, them man in the streets, they're targets.
Real talk.
Game hawk.
Yeah.
Real talk. Yeah, game hawk.
Use a game you see in a soft.
What game you got?
Yeah.
I got that PlayStation. My man got a game. I need that game.
Need that game.
Wonder.
Want it.
Yeah. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
like, lend me it, and you know you're never getting that
never
back.
back,
Yeah, lend me that street fight, you know. And as soon as you run it, that's it.
That's it.
You know?
Because even going up, you know, in high school, like sometimes when you're coming into high school, I never experienced it, but you know, it's almost like a tradition to get scuff off and them kind of things at one point. But you know,
Yeah, I never had those things either. But so it's those types of, I think it just comes down to the difference in the masculine and the feminine energy, right? How we get tested.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the tests for the feminine are more sexual, right? Women are exposed to sexuality a lot sooner than men, at least in my estimation, based on what I've seen. So girls, once they get to that stage of puberty and start developing, you got much, much bigger guys, especially if these guys ain't on a screwballs, attacking,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
So their defensiveness has to come in the sexual realm, whereas our defensiveness as men is kind of like physical, because you might got a nice hat and somebody want it and you got to defend that. You have a few coins in your pocket and this group of dudes tell themselves what they tell themselves, and they're trying to push energy on you.
but the sexual thing is a little physical too when you study, because we're talking about some parts it could be rape, and we need to teach with that sometimes how to defend on that physical level. You know what I mean, to punch off.
Right, but what I'm saying is
I understand what you're saying.
of it
I understand
is-
what you're saying, but
sexual.
it's still like sexual, but it could lead to violence as well. I understand exactly what you're saying now.
But it's mostly like pressure from men,
Yeah.
from older men, in a sense, when it comes to girls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these are things that I wrote a song about that called Lessons, my Fragments of Love
Yeah,
project.
that's a good project.
Yeah. So the lessons were just basically talking about talking about a young lady that felt boosted because an older dude was troubling her. You know what I'm saying? And then because she get caught up with sexual activities at a young age and being like tricked out as a young lady, you know what I mean? She couldn't even go to college and all them things. She get 2 kids, like life rough now, you know what I'm saying? And she looking at everything like, damn, like why this had to happen to me, you know? But I say all of that to say, however it is in that household, as parents, a lot of times that's how the kids go out. You know what I'm saying? Go out into the world. So basically how you as a father deal with your daughter,
Right.
a mother deal with her daughter, the conversations that you guys have, the respect you show her, the levels of how it could go. It could go either way, but you still have to show them like, yo, like when you go out in this world, you got older men who can tell you certain things like this, people who can offer you money. You know what I'm saying? Just out of so where it might look, even though they might not bring across a sexual aspect to you, you might just come across it they're being nice, but all they're doing is just roping you in every minute. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things, certain conversations you're gonna have to have with your kids at some point.
Yeah, but you see, we talk about this all the time, that some parents sometimes don't even have the tools
Facts.
because nobody teach them that.
And that's another thing.
And sometimes in some societies too, the only thing that they know is to be transactional.
Yeah.
In terms of, like something for something,
Yeah.
right? And so you find like a lot of young people sometimes get caught up. They're not even conscious that they're getting caught up, but they're already in it. And by the time they realize they're in it, it's already too late.
Well, I don't even think so much that is unconscious. I think a lot of times is a result of coming into that space, that, that young adult space, that adolescent space, where you're kind of feeling like you're a man or a woman, right? Them hormones raging or whatever it is. And invariably, what I've seen in the human evolutionary process, when they're moving from teenager to young adult, right? There is a phase where they go through rebellion. Boys start to talk back and puff up their chest and willing to get physical.
It happens to both of us.
Right.
Yeah, both of us.
And girls, they start getting more, I think they pay more attention to their appearance, right? So
It's like coming to the body,
yeah, things were happening to the body, they're interested in that. And within that rebellion, when you're young, you feel like you're invincible,
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and
You
nobody
feel like
can
you know
really
it-
tell you
feel like
nothing.
know it
Yeah,
all.
you feel
But
like
you-
you understand.
And it boils down to the lack of awareness. Like you ain't aware sometimes of the kind of danger you're putting yourself in.
Right. So that's where the conversation comes in. And so it comes back to that point of the parents not having the tools.
Yeah.
Because if your parents have certain tools to have conversations with you, then it's different.
And
And it's rough, eh?
Yeah, it's
So
real rough.
I'm not even, and I don't think we're saying this from the perspective of a judgment on parents.
No, not
Because
at all.
it's really, really rough to have those conversations with kids and maintain your composure. Because sometimes you're having that conversation on the backdrop of a mistake that you might make.
Yeah.
Like let's say you find a text, your daughter and a boy having some kind of conversations, right? It's easy for you as a parent to be going crazy. When the reality is in the moment is more of a calm conversation that needs to be had so that she could kind of resonate with what happened.
But that's all based on who you are as a parent
Right.
and what you've been through as well. Because if we as men went through certain things and we understand that this is how life is, like we ain't gonna be tripping. Like if you're seeing a text, you're gonna be saying, okay, how could I get across this message to my daughter?
I think that come with the tool.
Yeah.
I
That
think
come
if-
with-
because that require a level of consciousness.
Yeah.
You see, because emotion is a crazy thing, eh? Emotion will control you. That's why people don't go jail.
Yeah.
Like women who normally passive would go and throw a blocks in shimon car glass because you know what I
The
mean?
emotion
In the heat of passion, right? And that's why even in the law books they got crimes of passion where it's understood that you weren't thinking clearly in that specific moment. You get me?
But that's if two parents, because sometimes it's only one parent.
Yeah,
there.
that's
Most
another
times.
thing.
And you could
That's another
imagine
thing.
like a mother, working. Let's say she's working like 2 jobs, and she don't have enough time to interact.
That's a whole nother story.
And then she see this thing pop up now, where her daughter or her son doing this thing. The frustration in that, like I working so hard, trying to make things right for you, and this is what you're doing. I expect better from you, but she didn't get the time to teach.
But that's the whole thing.
You see?
No, she coming across that way, but on the back end, she ain't looking at it like, but hey, I need to try to spend more time here
But yeah,
if I could.
if you could, but and
You
it's
know what I'm saying?
that's a difficult part because
Yeah.
sometimes, sometimes as let's say as a man, sometimes right, we are like providers, right, and sometimes we believe that providing is enough.
Yeah, and it's not.
But it's quality time that's needed. But some women know because they fighting around, so then they take on the masculine role and they think providing is enough.
Yeah,
And they decide to put the quality time down. So sometimes they don't even have time to really do homework with the child and stuff like that. So
And then, so to a twist now, to inject a twist on the conversation that we started in relation to honor, it comes right back around now where these youths that we just spoke about that exist within this vulnerable space or their development, right? Young ladies developing physically, or young men feeling themselves, right? You have men without honor who take advantage of those things. Because a lot of the sexual activity that these girls get involved in is with older men. You know what I mean? Guys who done in their 20s, 30s, gonna see a school youth 17 and tell himself he gonna press. Or a guy who at a certain age and gonna give your youth something to hold. Encourage your youth to do something that is wrong. Like, yo, come with me, let's go break this place. Ain't no honor in that.
Nah, not at all.
That's crazy. And the sexual component to that, to me, is something that kind of baffle me as a man, because I can't understand how a man who is mature to some extent, and he might not be mentally mature, but he has age, right? You've been moving through the world. Let's say you're 25, you're 35, you're 40. Like, where's the appeal? And I want you guys to tell me what you think it is, because I'm baffled by it.
mean,
where's the appeal in a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old?
I can't even call it.
We can't really associate integrity with age, right? It's just the way you move, because you get a lot of guys, 18, 19, 20, a lot more integrity than people in the 40s.
Of course, age is just a number.
Yeah. So something we believe, like, we believe that like a certain status, somebody who got the status in society equals integrity. That's not true. That's false.
Not true.
Age is some sort of integrity. False. Just how you deal with people, and you could really pick up. As sometimes you could pick it up from people's actions and stuff like that to see like where they are, but we can't really associate that to say like, you know, that the age should equal to them thinking, because they took that like a bad experience growing up, where they probably some of them possibly could be, you know, a product of the same things.
Yeah.
So it just seems normal for them to go through this, and sometimes you have some parents and even women sometimes just kind of coach young girls into that, you know. And guide them along to that. That's what you see, even with the guy, Epstein.
Yeah, Jeffrey.
But you ain't hear about the lady. You're not hearing anything about the lady who was actually the one, you know, doing the courting and bringing these girls into their lifestyle.
But the thing about it, I can't put all the pressure on the girls alone, because there are a lot of older women too who going after young dudes too. Yeah. And it's more, it's happening a lot in these days, especially.
But here's the crazy thing though, with that, is that kind of get a pass.
But you see,
that gets a pass, because a woman could be 40, 41.
They'll say man could handle themselves.
Right, a woman could be 41 and she messing with a 19-year-old youth. But let's say the 19-year-old don't got his first job, and let's say he got an apartment for himself, and the girl, the woman that he's messing with is 41.
I mean, they don't shoot the women bailing that. They call them cougars and its own things. But and the male side, they don't got a name for that. They call that.
But here's
jail.
Here's the thing though, if you're looking at it from a gender dynamic perspective, between that little youth, between that young youth and he bridging them, that's a badge of honor, because it's like, wow, you're back there, that grown woman, that's a big woman. Yeah, man, you're sharp, you're warm, right? But from the female perspective, it's always seen that, yo, the guy taking advantage of you. She like big man. Yeah. So, you know what I mean?
It's as a negative and
in an equal playing field.
Yeah, sometimes I think we'd put a lot of pressure on women, young ladies. We put a lot of pressure on women in general. You know, like there's certain things man could do that women can't do, and I think that's just to be honest with you, in some aspects, that's just how it is. There's certain things that a man might be able to get away with that a woman can't. There's certain things that a woman might be able to get away with that a man can't. Yeah. This is just how life is in the general aspects of things. But I feel like women will be like, oh, anything a man could do, I could do.
Ain't true.
You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like, as I say, I just feel like it's certain things that, you know, for men, if we sleep with a lot of women and we is gallus, and if a woman do it, she is this and she is that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, for me, it's like, for a woman, I think like the majestic part of things for me, you know, for a woman who, don't get me wrong, a woman could always explore. A woman could always be whoever she wants to be. I ain't telling her who to be, but at the same time, I still feel like, you know, I think women should really like be cautious or be more aware of the dudes that are going around. You know what I'm saying?
We were just talking about this recently because Lanza had shared a video with me, and the guy pointed out to the woman that men typically looks at a woman's past in terms of taking on like dating seriously, while a woman looks at a guy's future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, what he gonna be in the future, like what he be able to, like, you know, do I have a future with this? Well, and the guy is looking at her past.
Mm-hmm.
And there must be a reason for that to just happen naturally.
I think a lot of the female, and I said it last week, I think a lot of so from the male perspective, most male value females based on their purity, right? Based on what we would deem virtue. And one of the biggest metrics that we use to gauge a woman's virtue or her integrity is how she's expressed herself sexually. So you watch girls who might have been experienced, and a lot of men would say, "Bye, that's not the type of time I on." You know, she's lived the type of life that I don't want to get involved in, and it seemed as shaming her. But men look at it from the perspective of, okay, is this the woman that I want to raise my children? Like, you associate that past behavior with value to some extent. Now, it's a crazy conversation to have, because Tiba and I were discussing this earlier. Human beings are capable of change. Mm-hmm. So she might have been in a period of her life where whatever was going on, you know, certain traumas, and that's how she ventilated it, or that's how she was acting, right? And she's now gotten to a place where she's a lot more conscious. That's not how she chooses to live her life. But the reality is that sticks. That is seen as who she is, right? That follows behind it. It's just like if a man murders somebody, you can't really live long now.
Yeah, certain things can really go with you. You know what I mean? To your grave.
Yeah, I even if you get caught stealing something like big, right? People gonna talk about it.
So, because you into like hip hop and stuff like that, and you know hip hop is generally seen as misogynistic, right?
Okay.
In essence, right? Now that you're developing a level of spirituality and consciousness, do you feel aware of like portraying women in your videos as like sexually attractive?
You mean objectifying them?
Objectifying them, but what happens is that sometimes you know women sometimes will say that like men like what they see. Like sometimes you look at music videos, or you look at Instagram, and they think that men typically like seeing that because they're liking the pictures or whatever. But a man could be sexually attracted to a woman, but that's as far as it goes. As far as it goes, it's just sexually attractive, and it's just like a momentary thing. And in hip hop videos, a lot of times, like especially the ones that they put forward to us, they usually objectify the women in that kind of way, right? And it doesn't really build on the value system of like long-term relationships within our communities and stuff like that. So, because you're developing the consciousness and the spirituality, do you feel like that kind of would get in the way of like the imagery that you put forward?
Well, for me, I don't look at things systematically. I feel like sometimes entertainment is just entertainment. I just leave it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Trying to be somebody out here that, or because like I'm getting involved in spirituality because I'm tapping into God more, tapping into certain things, like me and say, like me like see certain things, me like, you know what I mean? Me and like sex ain't on selling me videos or whatever. Sex sells. That's just how it is. Like this is the entertainment world. I try not to degrade women, but at the same time, if I could have some sexiness in my videos and, you know what I mean, women dressed in a type of way and just bringing more exposure to what we're doing and looking good, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would do that. I ain't gonna like dumb down myself or anything, but I still ain't gonna try to degrade. I think it's a difference. When you're degrading a woman, there's a whole different energy to her dressing sexy or dressing in lingerie and in videos and, you know what I mean? Like, the camera taking certain angles, or it might show like her booty looking bigger from this angle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's a difference. That's just entertainment. She's a model. This is what she does. You know what I'm saying? She looks good. She's a promoter in terms of videos or what you call them things. Oh my lord, what you call like artworks and stuff. Artworks, or she might be on a flyer because it's how she look, because she body look, how she realized this is who she is. You know what I mean? And she used that to like, okay, who knows? Maybe I could reach to Vogue one day, or maybe I could reach to, you know what I mean? So I don't really see that as degrading, but it's just the context. It's just how you use the women in the videos.
Well, I guess in terms of like your promotions and stuff, like you do party posters and all these things. I guess you're more conscious about it in trying to deliver like a tasteful, you know, imagery,
representation
of, you know.
Yeah. Megan, I don't think that's the type of energy I'm trying to push. I mean, trying to push this sex sales thing in terms of my events or whatever. I'm just trying to present like classiness and, you know what I mean, a whole different perspective.
You know, the reason I ask that because I have younger sisters, and especially like the younger one, she would ask questions like, well, she might show me something and she would be like, well, ain't this what men like?
Yeah.
And be like, no, not really, you know, not to say like to settle down. And they'd be confused in terms of like, so how is it that, you know, she might see her friends, like male friends, on these pictures, and that's all they're looking at and stuff. So he's like explaining to her like, it's the difference between being attracted to somebody for like a long term, and being sexually attracted, which is like a short term thing. Because sometimes, usually, what happens after that, that's
I think to some extent too, as men, right, we just attracted to things visually.
Yeah.
So
naturally,
if let's say a young woman is walking up 4th Street and she has an amazing figure.
Yeah.
And she's dressed in very tight-fitting clothing, maybe a short skirt, and you know she's stomach out, and she put together really, really nicely.
Yeah.
As men, we are going to watch. We are going to see that because
that's with nature.
Right. It's on display.
Yeah.
Now, being attracted to it in terms of visually, the visual representation and what it invokes in us in terms of like how we make you feel on a carnal level. That's undeniable. You can't really go around that. But is she somebody that you want to be in a committed relationship with? No. So, you know, women often have issues with men being attracted to women dressed in that type of way. And when you get into a relationship with them, you don't necessarily want them to dress that way. And it seems like a conflict. I don't really feel like it's a conflict, though. I feel like we know how men perceive things. So it's almost seen to some extent as an advertisement. Like,
you're selling yourself.
Right. We require a different type of representation now because you're in a committed relationship. So it's almost like, well, you're putting out the ad if you ain't got nothing selling.
We see, but some women just say that they say, well, I don't dress this way for men. They just, you know, they like to look good for themselves.
Yeah.
And this is something that they like to see. They like to see that sexiness of a woman, and that's something that they like to do for themselves, right?
No, but I think to some extent there's still like the attention that comes with it.
Well, I think the attention kind of validates like, yo, I actually like sexy for real, right? But I think that the added, like let's say like troubling, like, you know, the added stuff that comes with it, like people actually approaching them and telling them things and walking up to them and trying to get a number. I think that part of it is what they really
dig that part.
They dig that part.
No, there are some women that do.
Some women that do.
So that's it's just a whole different perspective in that individual mind, like, you know, how they see it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We had a video where the guy said, you know, we can't tell which is which. So sometimes dudes would, if you just the same exact way, you find that the approach gonna be all the same.
Yeah.
Because he might get you before, he might have gotten you before, but this one now is a totally different type of creature that you can't get you here. But he don't know because it looks similar.
Yeah.
Right? You can't tell the real, can't tell the fake.
Yeah. I mean, you see, when it comes to the dressing too, for me, I like, especially if you met somebody a type of way, if you met her dressing sexy, like you can't even change that. Like, you shouldn't even try, so, you know. But you could say, like, yo, like, a babe being really
comfortable.
Being comfortable. You know what I'm saying? That's a conversation to be had. Like, y'all got to come to that. Y'all got to cement that now. How could I how could I feel sexy but still be in a way where,
Respectful.
yeah,
And
you know?
a lot of times it's met with the conversation of controlling. Like, okay, now you're trying to control
Yeah,
me.
if you pass the
Yeah,
mark, is
yeah.
you're controlling.
You're being
you know what I
controlling.
mean?
But you know, something that's been on my mind for a minute is in relation to honor, and something that I feel like doesn't exist in our space right now, especially, is as men, a lot of times what we do, and I see it all the time, what we do is Zoo would be in a committed relationship, I might be in a committed relationship, you might be in a committed relationship, right? And there is a particular guy that you think is your brethren. And when you're not around, he's talking crazy to your girl. He telling your girl things like, yo, you gotta watch yourself with T-Bo because I see him with somebody and he can this place. And it's just like, yo, where that come from? Where's the honor in that?
Them things still happening.
This thing happening.
Heavy,
Heavy.
not easing up.
That's crazy
And
to
then
me.
sometimes even the girlfriend might leave you and go with that guy.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I see it all the time. And a lot of dudes do that to get women, to get, you know what I mean, that female interest.
Yeah.
And for me, this is just me talking based on how I view the world. I feel like that's soft.
No, definitely, man. You can't be talking to somebody else just to get in with a woman. Because the thing about it is this, yeah, like you see a woman, you see her looking so good, and you see her but when you get in with her now, you get to know who she be.
It's
like,
different.
Like, this you? You know what I'm saying?
And sometimes they ain't even your brethren,
So
so
something
let me
ain't
not even limit it. Because sometimes dude ain't even your brethren, but it's just like
Somebody else.
Yeah, I might see a guy walking with his girl, and I just like see the girl, and I gonna approach the girl and telling the girl like, yo, I see your boyfriend over the strip with a girl Friday, you know.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
he ain't taking care of you, and it's just like, yo, bro, what you on?
Yeah.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
So there is no honor for me, generally, I don't feel like we exist in a space where honor is really upheld, especially between men. We don't really do that, and we don't really show love to each other. And a lot of it is tied to homophobia. Like, I can't really tell you, bro, I love you, right? It's interpreted crazy. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, if I really care for you, if you really my boy like
Yeah,
that.
man.
Yeah, man. Yo, bro, love.
Yeah. all
And I
times.
mean it.
Yeah. But see, and I think that we express it differently. We say love, but we're gonna say I love you.
Well, but yeah,
But it's love still.
But it's love still, right?
You know
what
it
I mean?
is.
Yeah.
You know it is. You know, and you know what I love mean because I don't say it frivolously.
Yeah.
Right. It's not something that I say to sound cool. It's just like, yo, bro, this is really the energy that I'm trying to push forward with you. And like you were saying earlier, ain't everybody gonna get that. There's a lot of dudes that might come and dap me, and I only dap them because they push the energy and may want to reject you.
Yeah.
But if things were different, I just wasn't even gonna dap you.
Yeah, facts. Now I feel you.
Yeah,
Hey.
you got a lot of situations where a man come up to you and daps you. It's almost like he forced the daps on you. You know? You ain't really got a love for him like that. Y'all ain't enemies, but you're just not, he kind of slimy. So that's somebody you would mess with intentionally.
Yeah.
And he come and daps you, and it's just like, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it just adapts. You just, you know what I mean? Just
keep it moving.
Yeah, that's all.
Keep it
Ain't
moving.
even enough
Yeah,
saying.
as we talk about love and stuff, like I was talking to Lanza earlier.
Yeah.
And a question for you. You hear everybody talking about this show called From Scratch?
Yo, you won't believe somebody just tell me about that show earlier this week. Well, this Sunday, no, last week.
Yeah.
I never watched it.
I know I watch it too, but the premise, they say it's a love story. And I was asking Lanza, like, how is it, right, that they create another story where it's like a white guy dating a black girl, and that's just so typical. And I say, how come they never show it in the opposite way, where is a black man dating a white woman and they live happily ever after? Are they working on the relationship just the same exact way? Because anytime we see any type of black man dating a white girl, is almost like objectified in a way as like a sexual thing. And it's not really like to build a family and be happy. But when you see with a white man dating a black girl in a show or a movie, it's almost like they're building a family, and is all this love. It's totally different from how they cheated in the opposite.
Yeah.
So it's like, how,
I mean, the media representation of it is not shown heavily, and when it is shown, it's shown where the black man is super successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, the black man always super successful. If you see
Yeah.
it presented that way, where that's the relationship dynamic, you know what I mean? A guy that looks like us with a white woman.
He's super successful.
Yeah, dude, super rich.
He ain't just somebody who, you
Nope.
know,
Yeah,
just a cool dude. Just,
and
just
if
9
it's
to 5.
and if it's a 9 to 5 like regular dude, they go back to the same trope of once you go black, you don't go back type of thing. Is that kind of context?
Yeah.
So it's all like sexual, but when it's the opposite, when it's a white man dating, pursuing a black woman, is always seem like it's more positive. You know,
Yeah.
it's pushing a positive light.
I gotta check out that from scratch thing though. I gotta see what really going on with it, you know, because I can't talk on it.
Yeah.
I gotta check it out to see what's going on.
Yeah, me really big on those types of shows. Like,
Neither me, but to be, I will check it out.
Because I mean, you ever seen? I mean, when I was in New York, right, and I seen like couples, interracial couples, and I see sometimes you might bump into a black woman and a white guy, right? But for some reason, the mannerisms them from the system always seem a little different compared to when I see black and black like relationships.
mannerisms how?
They seem a little bit more like, hi guys, you know, like that kind of, it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
I can't explain it, but you just feel different, you know what I mean? And I think I pointed out one time to my girlfriend, I was like, you realize that? She's like, yeah, I could see it. You know, you look different. Like,
You see, the thing about it, yeah, a lot of black women that say, I marry a white man because I just take long to get married. I afraid to do this. I afraid to hold hand. I this and I that. And then for me, it's like, why you even clean up yourself with all of these things? Like, you know what I mean? You love me for a reason, apparently.
but, and you see that's the funny thing about the
Just
media,
saying.
because the media will show a certain type of
Exactly.
white guy. They want to show the poor whites and how they actually get down. You know, the ones in the deal with what they call fentanyl and different things. You know what I mean? You know.
Ain't nothing like that. Like they paint the picture that they want you to see because they control it.
Yeah.
So they're gonna paint that picture. So it's always, every time you watch a movie, it's always some guy being the most being the most romantic, being the most this, opening doors.
Yeah.
It's like even with the movie Woman King. I was saying, how is it, right? In this whole entire movie, like you see the black guy was the villain. He actually raped the woman, and then in the end, this half-caste guy is who, you know, liberated. You know, and it almost plays into the narrative that people always say happens in terms of Hollywood and things like that. I mean, it was a good movie and
It was a good
everything,
movie.
but it's just like, how is it that the black guy was like this villain and he raped this woman and this is a child, and it's just like, but what happened to the black man that was heroes in the in life?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just about like women in that area. Plus, that movie had a lot of things that I can't go into right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of inaccurate data.
I watched it once. I gotta watch it again because I feel like sometimes you watch a movie once and like you miss a lot of things, Cause you're just going with it.
Even with the hype of it.
Yeah, you're going with it. But like when you go back and watch it, you're like, yo, that didn't happen, why?
But for me, and it's crazy that we're talking this now because I just had that conversation today at home where there's this show that I'm rewatching, Peaky Blinders. I mean, if you're familiar with
But me watch it, but I don't know what it is.
Peaky Blinders, crazy.
Yeah, classic.
But so I've watched Peaky Blinders. I think this is probably my third time watching it, right? And the conversation that I had today, because I was asked, yo, how come you're watching that show again? And I said, well, listen, the first time you watch a show that's this layered, the first time is for the entertainment, right? And there's a certain amount of suspense that comes with watching it because you don't know what's going to happen next. So you're experiencing it for the first time, and it's very entertaining. So you see these things happening, and you're putting the story together in your mind as you watch it. The second time is now you kind of have a understanding of what's going to happen, what the story is, but now you could pay attention to the subtle cues, you know, the way people have conversations, what they actually said in the conversation that led them to the determination that you know is going to happen. So for me, it's like, yeah, I would watch certain shows multiple times, like Godfather. I would watch Godfather 15 times,
Real
bro.
talk. Scarface, same thing. Certain things that you just continuously watch. You know what I mean? And you're right. You don't always get everything all at once.
Yeah.
And that's the same with life.
But, I mean, it comes down to a conversation that Atiba and I had. I don't remember how the conversation started, but it might have been me having a challenge with one of my sons, him having a challenge with his son. I don't remember how it exactly played out, but we were talking about it because we discuss real life issues all the time.
Yeah.
And he was sharing with me that his father had told him one time, you know, when he was being a little bit rebellious, like he wanted to give up. He spoke to his father, which is the grandfather, and the grandfather said, listen, just keep talking to him. You're giving him the tools.
Yeah.
And at some point, he's going to arrive at a place where he sees utility in the tools, and he has them, right? And that's the crazy thing about parenting. And I feel like as men, that's what it really means to stand up. Like, yo, be there for your kids. Rough
Regardless,
times, yeah,
regardless,
and regardless.
regardless.
Because parenting ain't easy.
I could only imagine.
Parenting really, really difficult.
And it's the same thing. I think once you kind of gain that kind of knowledge, you kind of translate into your personal relationships, on your intimate relationships, but you don't necessarily give up on people when the challenges come in. You know what I mean? You kind of buckle down and say, you know what, let me see what's going on really. Let me try to understand.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you break up with somebody, right? And maybe like 5 years later, y'all become like really good friends. And just like, what happened? But you didn't realize there's so much other things was layering that whole breakup, you know what I mean? And you didn't have the time to really try to understand.
But I mean, there's a certain amount of honor and magnanimity in that.
Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, it comes with time too,
Yeah, it comes with growth, being tolerant with people and understanding that just like you, people are capable of making mistakes. And when people make mistakes, you have to extend grace. That is especially for me, that's a dreadfully difficult task. Extending grace to people is something that I don't know if it's a programming or whoever it is, but it's not something that comes naturally to me.
You
gotta calculate it.
The thing is, I'd always tell people, if you expect forgiveness, you gotta learn to forgive.
Yeah. Real talk.
If you expect forgiveness in your actions, you got to.
Yeah, I feel like everything is a time, you know? It's a time. Like, you and somebody was together and walk out, it's a time frame. Like, you in mentally, in that time, you weren't ready for that. You check what I'm saying?
Couldn't receive that love.
Yeah, you couldn't receive that love. You couldn't even give it. You check what I'm saying? Like, mentally, you ain't ready for that because that was just that time frame. Like, you met that person, it was good vibes, good energy, but that time frame are in two different mental states, are in two different ways. Like, she's seeing things one way, you seeing things the other way. You know what I mean? You find it as like, she might say, well, yeah, you're controlling. You might say, to me, you're dressing this way, or you're going out and you're dealing with parties and you're doing certain things on that level. And it's like, mentally, it's like, damn, when you look back at it, I could have dealt with that situation so much differently, you know what I mean? But I probably was insecure. She probably was on a whole different time. Like, everything was just, I feel like it's just a time slot.
Yeah.
If I make it in that time slot on the same meditation, then that's love, then that's great. You check what I'm saying? But if I ain't there mentally on the same path at that specific moment, it kind of hard to like concrete things unless like I really sit down and say, I got to like reprogram my thinking and see how I can make this work. If it means something to them, you know what I mean, at that time. Sometimes it's like, but no, I just don't think this person is for me, man. I gotta go.
I guess that's where they say hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Because when you look back, you can see everything. You know? You see all the flaws, you see every mistake that you made.
Everything,
But Zoe, it's crazy that we've gotten to the end of the show.
Crazy. We could talk more about it. You know,
hour done one half so fast.
Y'all had people come back to the show?
Yeah, regular.
Definitely.
I gotta come back.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, good conversation.
Yeah.
Always a good vibe.
Yeah.
And to everyone that stopped in, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. These videos, these recordings are live on YouTube, so you could always catch it a second time, a third time. Watch it 15 times. You know what I mean? Pick up the gems.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're at the end of the show. Thank you to everybody that stopped in. We've been live streaming. You have been listening to the He Nuh Show. And today is Sunday, so tomorrow is work. To everybody, get prepared. Enjoy your week. Have a good evening.
Yeah, man.
You found the sound. 98.9 WINN FM.